Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share with you our amazing Soulfire retreat, Evolve in Bali, Indonesia, that happens this April between the 22nd and the 28th. If your soul has been begging you for a life-changing experience, and you're ready to immerse yourself in a culture that is so deeply sacred and spiritual while being surrounded by incredible beauty, where your five senses are literally taken over and you have no other option but to be present and to savor every precious moment, then this retreat is for you. This retreat is for you if you are ready to push the edges of possibility and expand into new ways of being. This isn't just a luxury getaway with your favorite girlfriends. What's waiting for you in Bali is a life shift where the path forward becomes the turning point in the road toward the life you have been imagining, where anything is possible. Come evolve with us. Your soul is begging you. Head on over to soulfireretreats.org and book your spot today. We still have rooms available through most of the different room types, including our cheapest option at the twin bed level, but there's only one left for that price. So please join us today. And if you're interested in checking out the agenda that we have planned for this incredible week, then head over to my Instagram account at Corissa Step and take a look at the pinned post where I've shared it there. All of these activities are included, including a massage, a one-on-one personal healing session with a local Balinese healer, and so much more. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Now let's get to today's episode. Welcome to the Stepping into Meaningful Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Corissa Step. I'm a somatic, trauma-informed coach and narcissistic abuse specialist. This is a podcast for you if you're looking to improve your most important relationship, the one you have with yourself, so you can more meaningfully and deeply connect with those around you. This podcast will equip you with valuable tools, tips, and tricks essential for recovering from toxic relationships and guide you towards cultivating healthy, fulfilling, and intimate connections with others. But first, let's start with you. I'm so excited you're here taking this powerful step forward. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get to today's episode. Hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Stepping into Meaningful Relationships. In this bonus episode, I am going to be giving you the energetic forecast as it relates to relationships for the month of February. I've been doing this for the last couple of months, and it's been super fun for me to do these reports and then watch as the month unfolds how these themes start to play out. So I hope that you've been tuning in the last couple of months, and if you haven't, totally fine. Even if you were listening to this and it's not February of 2024, which is when this is being recorded, well, it's actually being recorded before February 2024 in January. But if you're listening to this, whenever you listen to it, just know that the messages that are in here are for you at whatever time it is that you tune into it. Number one. Number two, as always, please be sure to take what resonates and leave the rest. I also wanted to let you know that there is a companion guide to this episode for today. So after you finish listening and tuning in, be sure to download it. The link is going to be in the show notes. This guide includes some journal prompts and reflections for you to get the most out of this month and the energies and themes that we're going to be playing with. So this month, the first card that came out, which I thought at first was a joke for my guides, was the Lover's card from the tarot deck. It is the sixth card in the major arcana. And I laughed because I felt like it was my guides just being like, duh, of course, the theme for February is love. We've got Valentine's Day. But as I began to pull more cards and as the messages started to come through, what it felt like was this month of February is really going to be a deeper exploration into ourselves, number one, but number two, allowing us opportunities to more deeply fall in love with ourselves. It's going to be about self-love. It feels like the beginning of this month is going to feel a little bit like we are waking up from a deep slumber. Perhaps maybe this month of January has been slow for you. Maybe you've had a little bit more of an inward focus. It feels like come February, that energy sort of shifts where now we are taking some of the things that maybe we were healing or recovering from. That at the beginning of this month, we're going to be integrating a lot of the lessons and a lot of the things that we learned throughout that month. There's also this element of beginning to shift your mindset. And that could have come from the lessons that you are integrating, from the things that you have learned over the last few months. But it also could be that maybe you're waking up and you're realizing that a lot of the life that you have created or a lot of your experiences that you're currently having are as a result of you trying to meet expectations or live up to certain beliefs of other people that have been projected out onto you. And perhaps maybe you're starting to recognize and starting to realize this. And as a result, it's sort of launching you into a deeper exploration and self-discovery process of who you are. This may have been a process that you have been undergoing for quite some time. You may be on this healing journey and this self-discovery process, and you might have been on that path for a long time, but it feels like in February, there are some more pieces that sort of come into play where maybe you've been asking a lot of questions and maybe you've been feeling a little bit lost and a little bit confused, and you've been struggling to understand what your next steps are and how to get to the other side. It feels like there's this element of you that can see the bigger possibilities. You can feel the pull forward of the energy that's to come. And it feels really good. And it feels like it's full of possibility. However, you're struggling to figure out how to get there. It's almost like you have been locked in a dark room and the key to get out is actually laying right beside you. And if you know the tarot deck, this is really reflective of the Five of Pentacles, where essentially you've been sitting in this darkness, wondering how you were going to get to the other side of that door where all these amazing possibilities live. And you've spent so much time trying to figure out how to get there without realizing that you've had the answer all along. You're being called to ground into what you have experienced in your life, even if it has felt hard, even if it has felt unfair, even if it has felt traumatic. But to use what you have learned and integrated those experiences into the knowledge and the wisdom that you now hold, whether that's about yourself, whether that's about other people in your life, whether that's about how to be in healthy relationships with other people, whether that's about how you want to show up on a daily basis versus maybe how you have in the past. And using that as a way to inspire you to figuring out, number one, what you don't want and who you are not, but also about what you do want and who you actually are. I say this a lot, which is you can't know who you are until you know who you are not. And who you are not is reflected to you through your relationships and through your experiences. Because every experience that you have, every relationship that you have provides you with an opportunity to get to know something about yourself that you didn't know before. And sometimes if we've been in a lot of unhealthy relationships, a lot of negativity has been projected onto us. And sometimes we take that negativity and we create a narrative around it. We create a belief around it and we hold that belief or we hold that narrative and believe that it means something about us. So you're being asked in this moment to let those things go. It's time to shift your mindset. It's time to reframe what maybe you thought your weaknesses are and see them as your strengths. It's time for you to take a real hard, honest look at who you are and learn how to self-accept. There's a lot in here about self-acceptance. Accepting the good and the bad, knowing that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not have it all together, that it's okay to make mistakes, that it's okay to not have it all figured out, and giving yourself the grace and the love in spite of it all. So where are you hiding your beauty, your truth, your real, true, raw, authentic self because you believed that you weren't enough? It's time to let that go. It's time to remove the blindfold that maybe you've had that someone else placed around your eyes, because perhaps it is these projections that you have taken on from other people that haven't been healthy, that have formed your self-belief about who you are. It's time to pierce the holes in that and to really see yourself for how amazing you are. It also feels like in the month of February, we're sort of taking this inventory of, okay, I understand I've had these experiences. I understand that there are these parts of myself that maybe I've considered unsavory in some way in my life. But I also know that there are parts of myself that I really value and that feel very closely aligned with who I am. So we're taking inventory of, okay, what do I want to keep? What do I want to take with me on this journey? Which parts of myself, the good and the bad, do I want to continue to hold close, to love, to accept of myself? And what are some of the things that are not true about who you are, that you want to leave behind, that are no longer in alignment with who you want to be and where you are going? Because this month is all about you finding your inner light, finding your courage, finding your confidence to bravely step forward into that future and those possibilities that you know exist on the other side, that you know are waiting for you. And the key, that key, right back to the Five of Pentacles card. And of course, there were other cards that came out too. And I can share a photo of them if you guys are interested in seeing them. But the key is self-love. The key to making that all happen, to manifesting your dreams, to becoming who you know you are, is self-love. The way to get to self-love is by first learning how to accept yourself. So all those little things that you judge yourself for or make yourself wrong for, or that you quietly bury and hide away out of shame, bring them to light. Get curious, ask questions, understand yourself at a deeper level, and then love yourself in spite of all of it. And know that even if there are parts of you that show up at times when you're not feeling safe or when you are stressed out, that it is just your way of protecting yourself, and be grateful for that. Be grateful for the fact that your body, your subconscious mind does such a good job at keeping you safe. But now it's time to show up truly as your authentic self in all the ways. Stop apologizing for it. Stop feeling guilty for it. Stop judging yourself for it. And make sure you're setting boundaries with the people around you that are making you feel less than. They're not meant to join you on this journey forward. So where can you even set boundaries around the things that are important to you? What are the things that you value about yourself that you want to protect, that you need to set boundaries around so that you can continue to live your life in integrity with those values? Because where we're headed next for the month of March and going forward is we're all being asked to show up as our true selves in order to do the work that needs to be done in this world that only you can do when you are showing up as who you are. This tapestry that we are all weaving collectively requires you to bring your strengths, your gifts, and your weaknesses to weave it together. So even if there's a little missed stitch in the tapestry, or maybe the color is slightly off, it doesn't matter, because it all makes this big, beautiful world that we are creating around us that much more beautiful. We're not meant to be mirror replicas of each other. We're not meant to be perfect. There's nothing interesting in perfect. So find your courage, find your confidence, discover more deeply who you are. And it feels like these opportunities to understand better who you are going to happen in your relationships, of course. That's typically where we start to grow and learn something about ourselves, is when it's reflected back to us in our relationships. But you need to know how to drown out the noise, right? So turn down the volume on your inner critic. When you're being projected on, you're being asked to use your discernment to understand that when someone is saying something about you, to you, that you're able to discern quickly, is that true or is it not? right? Being able to use that prefrontal cortex to decide and accept or reject what's being said. But it's not just accepting or rejecting it immediately, because sometimes we will just resist the things that people say to us or about us because it doesn't feel good. But it's getting curious, like, wait a second, is that true for me? Is that true? Do I do that? Do I behave in that way? Is that how others perceive me? And getting curious and allowing that to lead you down a path to understand yourself better so that you can decide, is this really a part of who I am? Is this really how I am showing up in my relationships? And maybe you are showing up in certain ways that you're not aware of. And so maybe that's being reflected back to you for a reason, for you to take another look at it, to see it from maybe a different angle, but to use your discernment about whether or not what's being shared is true to your authentic self. And if you need to rewrite the story of who you are and how you're showing up, then this is your opportunity. It's almost like the draft has already been written. You're now editing the final script in some way. So you're going back through and you're rereading and you're making edits and you're crossing things out that don't make sense or crossing things out that don't fit the story. And you're being given this opportunity to cultivate more of the things that you want to have and that you value, and make that a part of your personal tapestry, right? Make that a part of your personal story of who you are, and setting boundaries around that so that you can continue to be that authentic version that you know that you are capable of being. It also feels like some of this is going to happen in a way that might be a little bit surprising. There's a lot of like swirling energy around what I'm talking about. And of course, like, even if you just think about like unconditional love, like you would think of it as a circle, right? There's no end, there's no beginning. So part of this is like, you're going to have some of these, potentially some experiences that feel like you're going in circles or feeling like you've visited this before. And this is like a chance to revisit it in a different way where you get to go a little bit deeper. So maybe you already feel like you have a good sense of self-love for yourself. February is going to be an opportunity for you to improve the quality of that self-love so that it starts to veer more towards the unconditional. Instead of just loving all of the positive and all of the good things about yourself, maybe this is your opportunity to learn to love even the parts of yourself that you've in the past judged yourself for, or made yourself wrong for, or that you've criticized yourself for, or maybe someone else has criticized you for. That's where true self-acceptance and self-love comes in, when we're able to do that. So I hope this month is magical and amazing for you. I hope you enjoy falling in love deeply with yourself, not in a narcissistic way, in a very healthy way. Because if you think about it, if we learn to cultivate a deep sense of self-love, we're able to create from that place of love as well. And the world that we create then around us through our decisions, through our actions, through how we show up in our relationships, in our communities, will be very different than what has been created in the past. A lot of what has been created in the past in this world that we live in came from a place of fear, came from a place of control. We feel the need to control when we are afraid. So if we can start to behave, act, think, do from a place of deep love within us, our self-love that has a deeper connection to the love of spirit, the universal love, then what we create together, then what we create on our own is incredible. So I wish you a month of ease, of love, of self-discovery. And don't forget to grab your free guide in the show notes so that you have a place for some deep reflection and journal prompts for this month. And with that, everyone, till next week, be well. If you're hearing this message, that means you've listened all the way to the end. And for that, I am truly grateful. If you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, would you mind leaving us a review wherever you listen to podcasts and sharing it with others? If you'd like to connect with me for one-on-one coaching or human design reading, you can find me on my website or on social media. Also, if you have a topic you'd like me to discuss on a future episode, please DM me. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Stepping into Meaningful Relationships.